All right, I saw that movie Krampus, a film that pretty much Yahoo and other social network has been talking about. A lot of people have actually spread their opinion about. Word of mouth has been not great, but fair, which mean pretty much mixed. And judging from what I've seen from Rotten Tomatoes after seeing this movie, I can see where the overall feeling of this film was after other people have seen it. I wasn't going to see this film. I'm going to be very straightforward. I was going to skip this movie, but a friend of mine was going through some trouble in time. We went together. She wanted to see this film, and for the most part, she was mostly disappointed with this film. A lot more than actually that I think she expected. Like I said, I don't really know how a person is going to react to seeing a film like this because it is a film that could be hit or miss for a lot of people. It really does depend on your genre, but most importantly, what you came to expect. She wanted to be scared. She wanted to see horror, and what she got was totally different. And just keep it in mind, it's considered as, according to the genre category, horror slash comedy, and it can work out in so many ways when you have this kind of genre put together. One can very got to be very careful of how they present this movie to the overall audience. For me, seeing this movie, I'm gonna tell you right now, I really didn't have much expectation, even though the buzz of this movie was very big. And the only reason why I actually agreed to see this film because it was a film that a lot of people was kind of surprised it actually did well at the box office its first week. I don't know the numbers offhand until I actually see the actual numbers for myself. I know Hunger Games it still was on top. It may change after this week, but to me, it was one of those movies that I really wasn't really attracted to. One, I've seen so many Christmas films over the years that I said, you know what, this feels like something that was patched together over other Christmas themes. Even though this is based on old folklore, I still just didn't care for what they was gonna give. And after seeing this film, I can actually confirm that a lot of stuff has been taken from other films. If you didn't even, the only way you didn't know it was taken from other films if you didn't see it yourself. But I saw Home Alone a little bit. I saw a little bit of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I saw how the Grinch Stole Christmas to a degree. I saw a lot of different elements to the film that I just really felt okay, this is not really that original, especially since I'm seeing something that clearly came from the page of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. With that being said, the film wasn't terrible. It didn't disgust me. I'm actually kind of glad I've seen it, but it's not something I'm going to dive into it again. It's just one of those movies that I'm seeing it, it entertained me to a degree, and that's pretty much it. I guess the largest part about it is how this subgenre is. I think I might as well just be honest with you. I was more engaged with the comedy than I was with the horror. I think the comedy was the strength of this movie because there was a lot of fun elements, especially with the aunt and the brother-in-law and how they went at it. I think the kids, for the most part, was not much likable, especially one who had no dialogue whatsoever and probably was the dumbest of the whole entire cast. But it was hard to get invested with these particular characters. I was more invested into the relationship between the father and the brother-in-law, between the grandmother who actually had a little bit of a past of her own, which I'll get to in a second. And I also was interested in the aunt who had more one-liners in this movie than I actually kind of expect. So in the comedy range, there were more hits and misses. What hurt this film for me was the horror, which was barely any. To me, is general cheap horror, but it's not something that scares me. It's not something that makes me, be in suspense. I sat there in this film not interested into the faith of this family whatsoever, and that was the biggest problem of it. I sat down here, not being in suspense, not caring what happened, especially when the scene started very dark and no one knew what happened to one of the kids in the very beginning of this film. When things started to turn a dark corner, I just didn't have any kind of emotional attachment, and that's always a big no-no when it comes to these type of films. This film really, in many short, disappointed me big time in the horror element. I didn't have any jump scares, and a large part of it is that, well, it was just pretty much predictable, especially when it came to this sort of part of the origin of this. I don't know how to describe this demon looking. They said he was the shadow, the dark shadow of Santa Claus, which, if that's the dark shadow of Santa Claus, I don't even want to meet the one with the light, because it was big. It was very, very. What the hell am I looking at? That kind of character. And the strange part, it didn't even scare me. It's just like, what is this character? Is he a deer? Is he a goat? Is he, what the hell is he? You do know one thing: he's definitely not from this world, and he's definitely here to mean business. But that was the whole thing. It was just like I pretty much saw right from the start how this film was going to end up. If you've seen the Christmas Carol, it was pretty much that theme, but with a very negative result. Not to give the ending away. By the way, the ending was pretty much satisfactory. Not great, not poor, but satisfactory to us in terms of, even though I kind of expect where they were going, I think it ended pretty much solid, despite the fact that it left it open to the audience to decide what happens to this family. With that being said, horror elements, I really didn't see it. I honestly was not scared whatsoever watching this movie, and neither was my friend who saw this, this was the biggest disappointment. She actually snuck over to watch Spectre and had more fun watching that film than watching this film, which is kind of ironic considering how much mixed reviews that film had. And I actually like Spectre, but that's neither here or there. But the point I'm trying to get here is that that's where the film's weakness was. I really wasn't on the edge of my seat, and I kind of expected better on that category, more so than the comedy. The comedy was more stronger than the horror, and that was like, yeah, this is where I have a problem with. But most importantly, some of the decision makings they have. I'm gonna go. I don't want to spoil anything, but the family has a German, I believe, a German or Russian origin. I'm pretty sure it's German, and she speaks. And the grandmother, throughout the most of the time in the film, pretty much did a rookie style dialogue where she's speaking German, and even though the other family speaks English, and she's like, they know what she's saying, they don't speak German at all. And to the very point where she's actually explaining what the hell they were dealing with. And that bothered me. I said, you could have just done this the whole time. Even the grandmother said English. I knew it. Yeah, I'm like, well, if she knew how to speak English, what the hell she's doing speaking German the whole time? What's the point? And then after it was clear she could speak English, she went back to speaking German, which makes no sense. A lot of stuff doesn't make any sense. How the kids got caught. I mean, it was just like, okay, these kids must be really not thinking clearly, because of how they got caught, especially the one who did not have any dialogue. Oh my God! Many people are like, what is wrong with this kid? There's no dialogue in this kid whatsoever, and he looked like he either was not all there, or had too much sweets, or just had a stroke. I don't know what it was. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but this was the dumbest kid in the whole situation. So when they went after him, you had no attachment. You didn't say, "Oh no, don't do this." You was like, "No, well, I'm not surprised." The effects for these so-called Dark Santa Little Helper, I actually found very good to an extent, but it wasn't enough. Like they were there, but not there enough to me to be like, "Wow, oh great, this is awesome." I was like, okay, they're there, but they're there and they're not there. I think I was more impressed with the gingerbread men than I was actually with the whole film. But the thing that really I actually liked the most, and I kind of wish it was more of that than the movie, which tells you a lot about what this movie is. When the grandmother was explaining the origin of Krampus, it was not done like, in a flashback where you see her as a young girl. You see her as a young girl in animation form. It's beautifully done. I really did like this animation. I was really standing attention because I did not expect him to go that route in terms of the flashback, but it really worked. And I'm like, how come they can't just do this like this? I was more interested in a story that only was like 3 minutes long than the movie itself, and that's saying a lot. I mean, I really had more values and gave more points to the animation department for that scene. That scene was very, very well done. I actually enjoyed. One thing I always like good quality animation, no matter is it the computer animation or this old style animation or clay animation. If it's done right, I got to give you props. It's done right, especially when she was telling the story. The story that she told was more intriguing than the overall movie that was going on. That's with that being said, that was pretty much the highlight of the film. The real low point of this film was that third act. I think that third act, it kills me when they do this with these movies. It drives me nuts is when you know they did not know how to end it, and so they did a poor sloppy job of getting to that final conclusion. And my God, was it shown. I mean, without spoiling anything, they had a plan, which you pretty much know, and which in the back of my head I knew this was not going to work out, but they had a plan, and it was so executed poorly, but it was so rushed. It was like, well, I guess we're near the ending because everything's happening so quickly. You don't have the time to digest what the hell is going on or why these characters was being done. Which brings me to the main origin of the story, because I think I didn't really explain much about the story. The family's not exactly getting along. The family's not happy. There's a big argument. They don't really like being together as a family. They're pretty much torn apart. And you have this kid who wrote a very respectful letter to Santa, but ended up tearing it up out of rage and anger after getting to a fight with his cousins. And that ended up going up in the sky, which triggered the whole damn thing. Which, if you see the movie, this is how I say the film begins with him and also ends with him in many ways. This film, the main theme, if you really want to grab it, is supposed to be appreciative of the family, what you got, because you only got one, and when they're gone, they're gone. But they did it in such a way, it's like, I honestly don't have much care for most of the characters in this movie. They're not that they're bad. I think the most part, the child actors that really had the most screen time did a pretty good job in terms of acting, but it was some of them was so unlikable, and to the point where even some were just not enough screen time, where, like I said, there was some that was there and it was gone, and it was gone for the rest of the film. I'm not gonna tell you what happened in terms of their faith, but there was just not enough material there to invest in these characters. So I'm just watching and saying, how are they going to get through this? How are they going to survive this? They got 3 days to survive this. And like I said before, there's a lot of elements in this movie that they borrow from. Again, Christmas Vacation, Christmas for the Crumps, I believe that's one of them. You definitely see the Christmas Carol theme in this movie. The only difference is this is no happy ending type of movie. It ends in a very a cliffhangerous note. It makes you want to think, what really did happen to this family? Did they meet a grim fate, or is this just something that happened, and this is something that, be reminded, can happen again if they're not careful? So it does leave that open for interpretation. But if you see, and especially if you hear the story, what the grandmother said, you pretty much knew what happened, what happened, and why this is more of the practical ending. This film, to me, is a fairly decent film. It's not a good movie. Like I said before, the comedy, if you like comedy, I think this will hit you more than if you're just looking for horror. Again, I was not scared. I didn't have no reaction jumps. I wasn't over the edge of my seat. My hands wasn't trembling. No one was really, screaming. It's just one of those typical action films that you've seen so many times again. Again, a lot of stuff was borrowed from elements that I recognized. I recognized where this story was going, and how this film may end, which it did technically end it the way it is, until they reached that final moment where you see the closing credits. I just felt they could have done a lot more better than to present it. I did not care about this family. I really didn't. I really didn't care much about this family at all. And it's kind of sad, because I actually did want to like this film a lot more than what I've seen. But to me, all I saw was, I was laughing with some of the parts that was done, but I was just waiting for something to happen. And as it happened, as the things did happen, it was just underwhelming, to the point where I'm just wondering, why are they rushing? Because that last act was sloppily put together. It's almost like, say, okay, we need to end this film, let's do all this for all in one basket, and that's it. It's just one of those movies that I find going away. I seen it, I was entertained by it, but and I'm not going to remember anything about this film. I'm not going to remember nothing about this movie. That's how it is. It's some films that catch me, and it's not because I'm like one of those conservative guys that Christmas films should have a family-friendly meaning. Listen, even some of the most family-friendly films that you read that came out during the holidays were the most darkest films you've ever seen. Anybody tells me that Christmas Carol was a lighthearted film, I haven't seen the Christmas Carol of any versions that I've seen. There is dark and there is death, and there's really nothing else in between about that. That would make that film so effective because it's not babying you of what the main theme was about. And most Christmas films really don't have that Christmas theme that many people have come to expect for some reason. So there you have it. This film is not about being traditional. It's just about being entertained in terms of what they were trying to go for. And I think that they miss a lot in terms of the horror elements that they had. I mean, again, action wise, I wasn't bored. I mean, action, I was having fun with it. But again, I left there saying, wow, this is supposed to be horror. There ain't much horror into this film. It reminded me of Gremlins. It reminded me of other films that I've seen that done it better. I mean, Gremlins I was scared about, and they didn't have the special effects that we have now. They worked with puppets, and I was scared. I was intimidated. It was funny, but it was mostly a scared environment. I mean, I seen better horror films, especially with a Christmas theme. I seen better. Especially from direct to video, and to me, this is not one of the better ones that I've seen. Comedy, yeah, I laughed. There were some fun moments there. The animation when the grandma was telling the story of this mysterious dark figure of Christmas was very, very good. I really did enjoy what she was saying. It's just so. It just didn't click with me. Sorry, guys. You may disagree. That's cool. I have no problem with that. But to me, the elements that I like, I did enjoy. The elements I didn't, I just couldn't grab onto it. Especially with that rush ending that seemed to be the norm when it comes to these films coming out on the holidays. It's very clear it didn't have much to work with after that. 1 to 4, I give it 2. It's a fair film. It had some good moments. But it's not something I'm going to dwell back into again. It's just one of those movies that, yeah, it's okay. But you know what? It's not something that's going to be memorable. It's not something I'm going to keep in my mind. And it's definitely not something I'm going to be talking about for years to come. It's just one of those films I've seen. I know I've seen it. Maybe over the years I may change my mind. But for now, that's how I got to go. That's it for now, guys. Thank you for listening. If you guys disagree, and I know a lot of people out there like it, that's fine. A lot of teenagers saw this film with me. A lot of children, pretty much young as, I think 9 years old, actually saw this film too. It's kind of surprising because I don't know the rating for this film. It's definitely not PG-ish. I don't even, and there were some things that it's not, I guess because there's no blood in the film, but they went dark in this film. Especially that hanging scene. I was kind of surprised. They actually had a hanging scene in that film. But they went kind of dark. I'm like, I don't know if this was originally supposed to be R, but they actually toned it down a little bit. But there were some people who did enjoy it. I know there were some people. There was a lot of people who didn't enjoy it. I know my friend didn't enjoy it at all. But that's how it is. There's some film that is a quiet taste. Some people's gonna like it more than others. I'd like to know what you think about this movie. If you liked it, didn't like it, will you see it again? Let me know in the comment section. But until then, this is J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.